let's get into the Highlander, 1986. I'm going to play the teaser trailer. And if you want it stopped at any moment in time, let me know. I might not play the ending because I'll definitely get copy claimed. So, are you guys ready?
That can be only one.
Here we go.
Talk funny, Nash. Where are you from?
Lots of different places.
That scene. The insults hurled at him were like, it was, you can't even say it on the stream. They were so edgy.
Right.
It was
had to bump up the slider on that one there.
Yeah. It's
I was surprised he just got up and he started to fight the police and like they just let him go.
Hey, well, the policeman did start the fight. All right,
he did.
Yeah, but
he just walks in and he's like, "You're gay."
Yeah, but they still let him go. I mean, yes, they did accuse him of being gay,
and it just like it kept going. It was so great.
That was funny. Like the when they said like he was there like trying to get laid because he was gay and you know, and that's why he ended up killing the other dude.
Yeah.
This was such 80s. Like the detective was every scene he had like a cup of coffee in his hand and like the typical brown coat, you know, detective. It's like it was perfect. And all that stuff. So the police were exactly what I wanted from an 80s film. But I did hear the actor, and I think that's in the article I sent Jonas. Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Christopher Lambert.
Yeah. That he didn't speak English very well.
Yeah, you can tell.
Imagine.
You
Yes, you
kind of
can.
tell.
Oh yeah, so he was born in New York and he was raised in France, so that's why he has that weird accent and he talks like this. I am from Scotland. I am Connor.
Scottish accent.
Yeah, I know.
He definitely didn't have a Scottish accent. That is for sure. At no point. I kept trying to listen. I'm like, is he capable? Like, can he get out like a few words? I don't know that he got anything accurately out that sounded remotely Scottish, like the whole film.
There's like a couple of moments where he starts saying like Clan MacLeod. Where it's,
You're
just,
right.
it's almost, you can tell that somebody's like, you have to say it like this. He's really
trying
close.
real hard.
But it doesn't help when you have the most Scottish actor of all time delivering lines across from you. You know, you're like, my name is Connor McLeod. I'm from Spain. I'm from Egypt originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Egyptian Spaniard.
But then he later said he was from Egypt.
I'm from Egypt. And he's like pale as all get out. His huge handlebar mustache.
I was so confused. I was like, how are you from Egypt?
Dude, the weirdest exchange in the entire movie. There's a lot of weird exchanges, but when they're on the boat and he goes like, "You're haggis," and he goes, "Haggis? What's haggis?" He's like, "It's sheep stomach filled with barley and meat." He's like, "What do you do with it?" "Eat it." He's like, "That's disgusting." It's a Scottish person saying, "What's haggis?" and it's disgusting. A Scottish person has a French accent. I was like, what is going on right now?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Oh man. All
Great
right.
power.
I just
this
can't
is
get
one
over
thing.
it. I'm sorry.
Somebody.
It's just the fact that he's supposed to be a Spaniard and he's like, I'm from Egypt. And he never tried any other accent. He just talks like Sean Connery the whole movie. Like,
yes, he does.
Were you gonna say?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sonny,
I always
sorry.
thought it was so interesting that it was more like people have the potential of never dying, and it doesn't really happen until they die, and then at that point they determine whether or not they're gonna be one of those Highlander guys or not. So I always thought that was interesting, like people having the potential.
Hold on. Lambert equals plank of wood.
Yes.
What I loved is that he stayed in this costume and he's just walking through like the townsman and no one even looks at him. He's like, no one wondering why he's dressed this way. And he's got a freaking ninja sword.
Yeah. Yeah, his Japanese sword or whatever.
Yeah.
That's so freaking awesome. Freaking ninja sword.
Your way.
Okay, I have a question. In these scenes where I guess, are they just like absorbing the life force out of whoever they kill? Like, is that what happens is every time you kill one, their life force? Because they have like a orgasmic moment every time they murder someone, and they're just like,
so
yeah.
If I remember correctly, it's basically he gains all the knowledge and the experience from the person that he off, and he's basically he's got their strength. He's leveled up. It's like like a Castlevania game. You get it's like Mega Man. You basically kill the boss, you get the boss's powers. That's basically what
you get the power of not just a dude, but also one more dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because they don't really explain that until that like last scene. That was where I was kind of starting to figure out, okay, I think that's what happens there. Or at least if they did explain it before that, I did not gather it. But I was just curious.
Yeah, it also makes me wonder, like, how in the world are there more? Well, do we want to get into spoilers?
Yeah, we get spoiled. The movie came out in '86.
How in the world are there more Highlander movies at this point?
Right.
Does he just go around just finding more people to kill?
Well, I
He's
think
supposed to be the only one.
Yeah, I think what happened was when they did the movie, they thought this was gonna be like only this standalone movie, and then they decided they needed more money. And then they got somebody else. They asked Tim to come back for the Highlander TV show, and he said no, so he declined it. So they had somebody else that was somewhat supposedly related to him, right? And then after the TV series were done, they tried to kind of put both of them together to kind of make some semblance of, the stories just fell apart too much, but they just couldn't really do it.
Well, because I watched the TV show, and I'd never seen the movie in any way, and it's Duncan MacLeod in the TV show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he speaks English actually quite well. Yeah. Unlike this fellow here.
I think he's like his cousin. I think he's supposed to be a cousin or a nephew or something like that.
Yeah, multiple of the comments after my review was people being like, "Do not watch the second. Whatever you do,
it's so bad.
Don't bother."
Convoluted Sequel said they were aliens banished to Earth.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right.
Dude, so what they were going to do with Ninja Turtles?
Whatever.
Shout out Eric. Same clan, different vintage. I got you.
Oh, they were cousins. Yeah, so they're supposed to be cousins.
All right. I love that the movie started off with wrestling.
Right. For no real reason, I don't think.
He's just sitting in the crowd watching wrestling.
He's not very happy about it either.
I kind of love the vibe and the aura that you get, because it's like all these people cheering and stuff, and he's just sitting there, and they have like just the light across his eyes so you can see him, and he's just like, I was like, okay, that guy's the main character. Yeah, like.
But I really do like the flashbacks that they do, right? So they have a bunch of people screaming, and then his flashback is people screaming like during a war and a fight. I really like how they tied the flashbacks. I just wish they would add dates to the flashbacks. Like they could have just added something like saying like in 500 BC or something like that, because they tend to just skip around too much.
Okay, so here's the reason why I think they do that, Sevy, is because they're trying to let you know he's immortal, so time just becomes a blur to him. So we're supposed to guess like when he ages, like because there's that one point where his first wife comes over the ridge and she's old now. Yeah. It's basically it's for the shock factor. You're supposed to be in his shoes during this, where it's just like, yeah, nothing's really changed for me. I don't look any different, but everything's aging around me, because that's part of his. It's one of the great lines in the movie. It's like, I don't think your problem is you're afraid to die. I think you're afraid to live, which is a great line. Yeah,
it's great, but it's also like it's like a classic romance line.
Oh, it's cheese. This whole movie is cheese, and it's wonderful. Like Jay said, it's 80s cheese.
There's a scene when he's talking to his future love interest, where he's like, they're drinking like wine or something together, and he's just rattling off these things that happened during the year when the wine was made, and it's supposed to be this like poignant, like he was there, that's why he knows all these things, but like she didn't know that, so it's just like, wow, this guy like read a history book about this specific year, and it's just, but she's like having the revelation with him that he experienced all that. It was just very odd. There's a lot of these moments where you're just like, oh man, only in the 80s.
Yeah,
wasn't like go ahead, Sammy. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was just also really impressed by the fact that he could remember everything so well. I can barely remember what I did yesterday.
The opening scene, like when they started the opening credits, those Queen songs, right? It was like a Queen.
Princes of the Universe.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's
good.
Such a banger, dude.
It's so good. I knew right away when it started. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yep.
Dude, when the Highlander, when the title, the actual name comes in during the first guitar riff, I'm like, let's go. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, you're like, here we go.
Queen and Michael Kamen is like the most 80s thing ever, but like it's perfect. Yeah.
And by the way, Chad, if you don't remember Michael Kamen, he did the original X-Men soundtrack. So
he did a lot of really good movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he also worked on Pink Floyd The Wall. He did the music for Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He did the music for The Three Musketeers. Dude, he was doing everything. He did the music for Lethal Weapon. This guy was like a king in the 80s of music. Like, yeah.
Flash.
Die Hard. Yeah. Oh, dude.
The center of the universe.
Yeah.
So good.
Connor McLeod of the Clan McLeod.
There it is.
Yeah.
This scene, was freaking. It is 80s cheese because he says his name, he stabs himself to show that he can't die, and then they make out and they start licking each other's necks and just have sex. And you're just like, so that's the pickup line in the 80s to get women. Like, you got to say, hey, I'm immortal. Watch me stab myself, and then we'll start making out. Like, that's just, I was like, that was so random. It just like came about.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it, Jay.
Yeah. I'm just saying, it was like he stabs himself. I didn't see that coming.
Well, after 500 years, I think it would get a bit stale. You got to try new stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, you're like, hey, ladies. And you're like, oh my God. And you're like, yeah.
Jane Theory, being immortal is a flex.
Hey.
Some women are into that stuff. Yeah. I'm just saying.
I was about to say, Raw 84. Now I'm going to stab you. Yeah.
Women dig the immortals. I'm just saying, it was just so random. And then like they just started, I was like, well, there's boobies right there, and it's like random sex scene right in there. So after this horrible dialogue, which is so great, it's so bad it's good. Hold on.
Challenge.
All right, hold on. I got to go back because this is one of the greatest movie sets ever. When he's on these steps and it all starts to like crumble down beneath him while they're fighting.
It's the cover of a metal album. Like, just
yeah, exactly. It is exactly that. Man, that's so crazy, dude. When they were fighting and like, I was like, holy crap, what a set.
Who built that castle, by the way? That was crap. That was just kept falling apart every time they barely hit it. It just, He's like, I barely blocked your hit, and it's like half.
There's a lot of weak infrastructure in this movie. They just like they're like brick buildings that get chopped into half with swords and like poles. It doesn't matter. They've either got the world's like sharpest swords or everything was built like trash.
Yeah.
Jake's like, how can you not love this movie? I love this movie. I'm just saying, like, it's just everything was just perfect.
It's a great movie.
I should have paused there. Yeah, that's when he.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's got some goofy stuff in it. It's very campy. Like when she's pulling the metal out of the wall for the sword, you can see the concrete flexing when she pulls it out of the wall. And then at one point, like in the parking lot when he's fighting, Connor like hits the wall with his sword. When he pulls on the sword, you see part of the wall buckle because it's like obviously special effects. Like, yeah, or even the very end of the movie, when him and Clancy Brown are fighting, at one point you can see the stunt guy for Clancy Brown and like the bald cap. You can see the seam of the bald cap and his hair's poking out the back of it. Like, dude, it's hilarious, but it doesn't make the movie any worse. It's just funny. Yeah.
How about the first guy he faces, who's like 50 something, and he's obviously can't move that well, and then they cut to some guy doing backflips. For no reason.
Yeah.
Like, what?
He's in like business casual suit.
Yeah.
Just
for no reason too. Like he starts backflipping, then he stops, he walks for a second, and then they cut back to him, and he just backflips into the mist. And you're like, where are you going, dude?
Yeah.
I would love to see this set. Like, I would love to see, how they did this. So I'm sure it's green screen. Help me out, Mike. No, or did they not have that back then?
I mean, no, they definitely had green screen back then.
I mean,
this is very possibly green screen. Yeah,
I would say.
I mean, they had different ways of doing that kind of stuff back then too, that were a little bit more practical. So yeah, I it's very possible that this is like you said, like a matte painting in the background or something too. So,
and those are hand drawn lightning bolts, correct?
Yeah, likely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think back then they did like draw on the film.
I love how later on in the movie they also, when they were fighting, just like random lightning bolts would happen. Like it's just like sword swing, lightning bolt, and you're just like, sure, I'm all in. Like more lightning bolts, just blast them out everywhere.
Yep.
This was like an 80s. I mean it's an 80s music video.
Yes.
Like to a T. It's
actually
freaking awesome.
That's actually like the best description I've heard of that movie is an 80s music video. It's just an extended 80s music video. Yeah. Like the scene where he's Clancy Brown's chasing like the love interest. I don't remember her name now. I just watched the movie last night when he's chasing her through her apartment and they have like the fisheye lens and it's all red in the apartment. And stuff like, dude, that is straight up a music video. Like it's so ridiculous, but it worked. So
yeah, since you touched on that, the cinematography, the low set, like wide zoom, like the way that they would pull into every fight and I love it. Was so I have not seen another movie that does it like that. It's so whimsical. It's awesome.
I'm going to throw one at you. Do you think that they watched a lot of Evil Dead?
Yeah, I felt some inspirations in here.
Yeah.
I think there was some of those shots. I was like, okay, I think you probably were into what Sam Raimi was doing.
Those like sweeping shots and even like that intro of when in the wrestling rink, when like we were talking about before the show, where it's like drone shots before there were drone shots. Like I'm not even sure how they did those, but there were multiple shots like that in this movie that are great, and it is very Sam Raimi.
Jake, I couldn't imagine watching this film in 4K. I think it would take away from it. No,
yeah,
it might a little bit.
Yeah.
The guy that directed this movie, Russell. I don't even know how to pronounce the name. Mulcahy, maybe. Yeah, he directed a ton of music videos. That was
that
his,
makes
bread
sense.
and butter for years. Yeah, and then he gets into film later, or like during the same time that he's working on those. But yeah, he did Highlander, but he also did The Shadow in 1994. I love that movie, but you can see. Yeah, he slowly got better as a director, but you can see, like you said, the music video like you could screenshot this and make it a background in something, or like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, Corn Boy says 1080p remastered Blu-ray is grainy. I can only I remember when the original trilogy came out in 4K, and they showed it on like TNT or high definition, whatever, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be cool," and I hated it because you could see like thumbprints on R2D2 and C3PO. And,
oh yeah, dude.
And you're just kind of like, yeah, maybe some
Darth
things should
Vader's...
stay. Yeah, you can see like the tape, it just didn't blend well. So some things aren't meant to be seen like that, I guess. But all right, anybody else before I continue? All right, good. Here we go.
To face his greatest challenge, you will always be weaker.
Phenomenal. I love this guy. Liked him in Shawshank Redemption better, but he was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Clancy Brown.
His character was great. Like, look at the makeup, dude. Like, so this is, I guess, where he was cut by Sean Connery, and he put like body
Safety
pins or safety pins to so stitch it back together.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't understand. Well, Sean Connery took a shot at him 400 years before this.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's really healing slowly for being a super being. But yeah, I'm like, he just comes into the church and he's like,
Well, in the previous shots, you could still see the scar. I think, I don't know if he like made it more pronounced or what he did to make a point, but he said that he was going incognito, trying to have people not really see him. But again, like the one description they had of him was they had a scar in his neck. So I think this is not the way to hide in plain sight.
They had a drawing of him from the Marine that he stabbed in the stomach. Which that guy totally would have survived that, getting stabbed right through his guts.
Oh, well, and that was actually, I think he got his neck re-sliced in that fight scene. And I think that's why he safety pinned it back together, is because the other immortal sliced him in the neck before he killed him.
The black guy. The black guy. Yeah, that's right.
And
that's right.
Yeah.
I think he safety pinned it after that.
Okay. Because I know I went back to check to see if you could see the scar. And I was like trying to figure out why it was so prominent now and I didn't notice it before. You could see it, but it's just more prominent now. So that makes sense, Blaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone in the chat, I don't think they had superhuman healing abilities, says D-Subversion. I don't know what their healing was.
So that's
because
the thing.
When he stabbed himself in the stomach, the original Highlander, when he gave that speech, and then apparently he was better 30 minutes later because he was making out in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So
they don't really explain the rules a lot in this. They tell you some rules, and then they kind of leave everything very vague and interpretive. But I think if I remember correctly in the show, which I haven't watched all of, in the show, they say that like neck wounds don't heal on them, but the rest of their body can heal really quickly from things.
Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say,
right.
The Kurgan got blasted with that Uzi, and he was fine. Like, a few minutes later, because you see like the healed.
Oh, that's true.
Shirt.
Yeah, I think it explains that like neck wounds or anything above the neck, if you get cut, it stays as a scar because that's their vulnerable spot, is like their neck and their face. But like in the movie, they're just like, yeah, whatever. Like you can't die, and he's like, I can breathe underwater. I'm like, even if you can't die, that's not how that works. Like,
dude, when the fish fall out of his kilt, I about died.
They were there for so long, dude.
I'm like, is he just holding them up with his nuts? Like, how is he keeping these fish in his kilt?
It was a weird scene where he's like, feel the heartbeat of the deer, and they went frolicking on the beach together.
Yeah, dude, that is my favorite part. He's like,
let's just go run on the beach together. I feel it.
Oh my gosh, dude. And they kick off their shoes and start running barefoot, and there's no reason for it at all. Like,
when Sean Connery supposedly takes off running is hilarious because he kind of does like a Muppet movie. He's like, like that. You see him like he's not really starting. Unintentionally funny. Yeah.
I think that was just part of his training because I think he needs to be able to be in tune, to be able to feel when another immortal is gonna be there and potentially kill you. So I think it was part of that, and I'm sure that's part of the training when you're absorbing somebody else's essence and powers. Because like if a human being, if a mortal being killed an immortal, they don't get their powers. So I think you have to be in tuned in order to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because Sean Connery did say
Steady with
later
the
on, I
intellectual talk.
trained
Listen to him.
him.
Right.
No, because I was thinking about this too. So, and I like because even in the movie, Sean Connery said, he said I trained him, so now he's ready to fight you. And I assumed
That's
all
true.
of that was part of his training, not just sword training.
Maybe.
Worth pointing out that Clancy Brown is also the voice of Mr. Krabs
Yes,
from
he is.
SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
he was in a lot of things. He was in. Was he not in Ahsoka?
Yeah.
He has
Was
over
that-
270 acting credits. Yeah, the man's been in
wild.
so many things. Yeah, and he's good at all of them. He's a great actor.
Yeah,
but he's
he's
great voice
awesome.
actor. Yeah.
He was awesome in this too. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Here we go.
He was in Ahsoka, by the way. Yeah, he was in one episode of Ahsoka.
She's like, "What can you tell me about a 7-foot guy, giant, walking around with a sword?" Not much. That's so great.
Is not alone.
The music, man. Here we go, baby.
I mean, that's literally a music video right there.
Oh
Right?
yeah, straight up, dude.
Absolutely.
I feel like they're gonna start
Dude.
singing "Hungry Like the Wolf."
When he's driving that car playing chicken and they're going through the streets, that was crazy. But when they like kind of showed people getting run over and they did that weird light strobe thing, it was so like everything in this movie was stylized. It was so cool. But that was like one of my favorite scenes when you find out how crazy the Kurgan is. You're just like, wow, this guy is nuts.
It's pretty good.
Highlander. There can be only one.
Like, yeah.
Literally
The last-
showing the
That
end of
last
the
shot
movie.
was that? I don't think that was from the movie.
Seriously.
Like it looked like his hair was dyed a different color and everything. Yeah, he's just standing there.
Highlander. There can be only one.
His hair is short there too. Like he doesn't. Not even the same. He's just like, yeah, just come back and do this one shot, please. Yeah.
That whole
That's
end
crazy.
scene and the demon things, I don't even know what they were flying around him, and like that was wild.
Yeah.
The only thing that really bugged me in the Highlander is the Kurgan's sword, like, is constructed and it has a weird little spiky thing that comes out. All of that serves no actual purpose and would probably make his sword weaker when fighting other sword fighters. But it's just cool looking.
Yeah, it's metal, dude. Just like he is. Like he's just so metal.
Dude, the assembly scene for that sword was so amazing.
I hope he brought the right screwdriver in order to make sure that he attached correctly in the middle.
That would have been a great scene.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot my Allen wrench.
We got a quick article that we want to go through real quick about some of the highlights of the film. I'm gonna let Jonas run this part since he reads better than I do.
I read good words. I'm a modern man. I can read well.
Modern man.
Anybody want to put it up on screen?
Feels like you're in a western.
All right. Highlander, the 10 coolest facts you never knew about the 1986 film. Hey, look at it. I don't think he wears that in the film, like, at all, but there he is. Highlander, well, let's go to the facts.
That does look like an album cover. The more we talk about it,
Oh,
the
yeah.
more I'm like, this is like definitely an album cover.
Yeah, there. So Christopher Lambert could not speak English. And by the way, it is Lambert. Unbeknownst to most audiences, Christopher Lambert spoke virtually no English when he took on the role of Connor MacLeod of Clan MacLeod. His work on Greystroke, The Legend of Tarzan. Oh, I forgot about that movie. Afforded him the opportunity to act out his scenes without much in the way of dialogue. Wow, I forgot that movie existed.
Why did they hire him then? Like if he
Right.
if he didn't speak English.
Good question.
That was. I think I put that in my review.
It's pretty good.
Oh, even the filmmakers were aghast when they signed Lambert for the role, only to discover his inability to speak.
Oh, so
fluent
they didn't even
English.
know.
Well, let's face it, it's not the first time they have hired people that can't speak English. Like, for example, you have Antonio Banderas when he did all those Desperado movies and Zorro, for example. I think he couldn't speak English, so they had to write down phonetically how it should read for him to memorize that. So it's not the first time that they have done that.
I mean, that's fair.
It's just
Also,
really
like,
weird.
let's be
Like
honest.
you're hired for a role, then it's like, man, this guy can't even speak English. Like, what are we?
Jackie Chan hasn't been able to speak English his entire career.
That's true.
Right.
That's
yeah.
a very
He's never gotten better. I'm like, bro, you've been here long enough. Like, you got to be better at this. But
So I don't know how they missed the speaking, but he on his birth certificate, they says he's born in Long Island. So they're probably like, oh, he's probably from New York, and there he's like, je suis, voilà. What? Like, that would be so
I
weird.
know.
I didn't realize he couldn't speak English. I know he's wooden, but that would explain a lot.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what's funny is he's like comedically gives a much better performance in Mortal Kombat as Raiden or Raiden.
dude, he's so
There-
good.
yeah.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he's so
I
good as
love that
Raiden.
movie.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He's amazing. Apparently, there's alternative versions for Highlanders with extra scenes and stuff. I put the link in chat if you guys want to check it out later.
Alternates of this one, because I know there's like 2 cuts of
Yeah.
the second one.
Yeah,
Oh.
this one, the 1986 one. Yeah.
Clancy Brown scared the crew. Imposing actor Clancy Brown must have been using the method acting approach when he took on the role of the Kurgan, since his on-set presence was enough to cause ripples. According to the crew, Brown was widely regarded as the Kurgan even when his scenes weren't being shot. In reality, Brown was highly respectful of everyone in between takes, so much so that he often apologized to the nuns and priest for his character's rough-tongued, blasphemous dialogue during a confrontation scene between himself and Connor McLeod.
Wow.
Nice. Real quick,
That makes sense.
I just found
Okay.
this. So the original casting for Highlander was supposed to be Kurt Russell, and he dropped out of the movie.
Really?
Oh, dude.
And the director saw a picture of Christopher Lambert on a magazine and hired him because of his look.
Wow.
And then they learned he couldn't speak English. Yeah.
Well, that
Um,
makes so much sense now.
Yeah. Well, and I'm looking through this list of things for Christopher Lambert. He also was considered for the role. He was offered the role of Riggs in Lethal Weapon and turned it down. He was also up for the role of James Bond at one point and also turned it down because of his accent. But I'm like, that's pretty
Wow.
that's pretty nuts. man.
Wow.
Yeah, the
Well,
James
can
Bond
you-
people got really weird in the 80s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you imagine the accents that would have been going on if apparently Arnold was supposed to play Clancy Brown's role? So it would have been
Oh my
him and
God.
Arnold.
Dude, Kurt Russell and Arnold Schwarzenegger
It would have been the
together?
Terminator. It would have been like the Terminator.
Right?
Would have been wild.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Queen's inspiration. Look at that. That's maybe not the best picture of Freddie Mercury, but okay.
No.
According to rock band Queen, they were only scheduled to write one song for the film, but the subject matter inspired them so much that they wrote several more, which have made the film soundtrack one of the most iconic in film history. This includes It's a Kind of Magic, which was used during the end credits. I didn't realize that It's a Kind of Magic was from this film until they said the line in there. After seeing an unfinished cut of the film, lead guitarist Brian May wrote the iconic classic Who Wants to Live Forever, which has been a staple of the franchise for decades. Continues to pull they're just reminiscing at that point.
Yeah. So if I may, on that scene, that got me like bad. When I watched it as a kid, I didn't care, but that whole thing when they're singing that song, and it's such a good song, and you just see him just go to the end of his first marriage, is just like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, who's cutting onions? I'm done. Like, yeah. It was really good, and it had no right to be in a cheesy movie like this. But that's what made the movie so good, is it just touched on everything.
Yeah, I did.
Well, like Princes of the Universe, like what in the world is that song?
That
Well, that
song
opening
is
is
so
nuts.
good. God, I love the opening. It was so good.
I'm not supposed to have heard this, but I was at a friend's house and they have the Pro Tool session from Killer Queen, where it has all the individual tracks of Freddie Mercury singing every single part, and like it sounds fantastic together. But just going through in this amazing voice, going through every single one of these things, and like, how did you do this? How did one guy do this stuff? And like Princes of the Universe has really yeah, it is Princes. Has such complicated harmony in it. Like, where did this guy come from? You know?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
A
legit, dude.
quickening
That's
for
awesome.
real. Clancy Brown might have intimidated cast and crew alike with his mammoth size and highly intimidating performance, but apparently he was nervous as a kitten when it came to sharing a scene with Sean Connery, who played Ramirez, one of his most wacky roles. Originally, Brown was supposed to rush in and slice a table in half before engaging Connery in battle. However, director Russell Mulcahy reported that Brown instead took a swing at the candelabra and nearly decapitated Connery on the spot, which would have landed the incident on the list of worst on-set tragedies in film history. The veteran actor stormed off the set in anger, prompting Brown to apologize profusely. The two quickly made amends, however, Connery cracking a joke about Brown using his stunt double for those kinds of scenes. Dude.
That's scary.
Could you imagine upsetting Sean Connery? The dude like beats people up in a bar for fun.
Wow.
By the way, let's not gloss over Screen Rant trying to segue into one of their other articles.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Right.
douchey. Yeah. Oh, here's these people that have died.
Yeah, I bet Twilight Zone's on there. By the way, this is what's on that page right now.
Oh.
Awesome.
So, all right, continuing on. The Kurgan's backstory. Although the film only provides a brief snippet of the Kurgan's violent past, the novelization goes into far greater detail. I love that there's a novelization of Highlander. It reveals that the Kurgan first died at the hands of his own father, only to reawaken as an immortal and slay him outright. From there, the Kurgan participated in blood-soaked campaigns alongside simple bandits before working his way up to the Vandals, the Goths, and later Attila the Hun, the Vikings, and Genghis Khan, to name a few.
Awesome.
Sounds like an awesome movie right there.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to see that movie. Drunk extras. The opening scene of the film portrays battles in the Scottish Highlands between warring clans, and the extras brought in to assist were a bit too enthusiastic. Their onset shenanigans necessitated the presence of a full-blown medical team to deal with accidents that took place during filming. According to legend, the extras would take a lunch break comprised largely of copious amounts of alcoholic beverages. Many would return to set already in the bag. They were then given weapons and told to make ensuing battles convincing.
Oh my God.
That sounds like a party. That would have been awesome.
If that doesn't say 1980, I mean, what? I mean, are you kidding me? Of course, that is 80s to a T, man.
They must have run out of cocaine.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Hold on,
here,
real quick,
get liquored up and do some drugs, and then like run out like a crazy man as we recreate a fight scene from Scotland. Holy
Right.
crap, man! That is like 80s to a T.
Well, in the chat, Rough Knight, who's worked in the movie industry for a long time, said in the 80s, almost nobody thought anything of almost fatal accidents on set. They barely cared about the actual deaths. And like I've talked with him about it, and he said that like until things like what happened with oh my gosh, Bruce Lee's son, Brandon Lee, and stuff like that, until those things happened, they didn't really get super serious about safety on sets until people started actually dying. And then they're like, all right, we should probably do something about this. Like, so that kind of stuff is nuts. Yeah. I like those guys are in charge of like putting together sets and stuff, and like, you know, knowing that they're drinking and just doing stuff is scary stuff.
But you know what's? But then we have like Alec Baldwin's finger, who killed someone on set
Yeah.
recently. You know, my goodness. Yo, and thank you for all the super chats. We're gonna get to them right after this, and then we're gonna show off our Criticless scores. So
yeah,
thank you for the love, everybody. Seriously.
This outfit is nuts, by the way.
It's so great.
Many deleted scenes from the original film could have ended up in a future director's cut, but they had sadly been lost forever due to a warehouse fire. They provided a bit more exposition, extra action, and lengthier flashback sequences that would have helped flesh the movie out. Some scenes lost to the fire include a battle between the Kurgan and a dual-sword Asian immortal named Young-Dal Kim, a flashback of Connor and Castigear, and a scene where McLeod shows Brenda his katana blade. Who's Castigear? Did I miss that?
I'm not sure.
I don't
Is
remember.
that guy? That's on
is that
screen?
Castigear?
I think
What a
that's
name.
Castigear.
That's Castigear right there. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess his name wasn't that important.
Yeah. That was like his last name, technically.
That makes sense. A-listers galore. Many prominent A-list actors were given a shot at the role of Connor McLeod, but they either didn't work out or were turned down. The role eventually went to Christopher Lambert, which was a stroke of luck considering his talent for playing a tired immortal who'd grown jaded throughout the centuries. Some of the heavy hitters in line for the role included Michael Douglas, Sam Shepard, Kevin Costner, Sting, Mickey Rourke.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Action vet Kurt Russell, who pulled out during pre-production, and Mel Gibson. Ironically, Gibson would go on to portray Scotsman William Wallace in the 1995 smash hit Braveheart. Even more insane is the fact that Lambert was later offered the part of Martin Riggs in the first Lethal Weapon film, only to turn it down. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell in this film would have been so much better, but you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there was also a weird, to me personally, like Christopher Lambert's like weird aloofness and kind of his, like even his accent felt like a guy who didn't really belong in any world one way or another. I don't know. It to me added to the charm of the film. Like whereas I can see Kurt Russell doing this and playing it a little bit more like straightforward and a little bit more like serious, and I kind of like the weird vibes that we got from Christopher Lambert. Other than the sword fighting, that could have been better. But
Hayden Wayne.
Oh boy, here we go.
For $50. I worked in entertainment for almost a decade. I worked concerts and stage productions at the lead for the local crew. We had to build sets, stages, and ensure the production ran smoothly. The amount of hard drugs being done backstage would shock people.
Dang, yeah.
Oh damn! That's
Thank
insane.
you for the $50. Holy crap, dude. Wow.
Beauty.
I bet there was a lot of drugs back there. Back in the 90s, I think it was, heavy metal bands decided to do like a no drugs tour with MTV. And the stories that came out of that was so funny because they were like, they would all be high on drugs before they came out and did the concerts telling kids not to do drugs.
Oh my god.
Like there was one story of, oh my gosh, the guy who bit the head off a bat allegedly.
Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, like peed his pants and he went on stage because he was doing so many drugs. Then he went and told the kids, don't do drugs. It's like so funny. The Dare, was it the Dare program? Yeah, it was something like that. Like the stories that came out from that alone, they got all these 80s bands to like say don't do drugs. Peter says I'm high on drugs now. There you go.
Drug awareness, resistance education, and they made more making more kids do drugs, and they also had like I think they had like a dog or something. It wasn't McGruff the crime dog. No, it was a lion. And he used to like yell at you. He's like, don't do drugs and stuff. And you're like, okay, man, like, what's the lion about? And they're like, I don't know, man. Like, just.
I was loved. Like they
the
passed
whole,
out.
Just say no, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I remember going to an event at my school one time where they had us wear like beer goggles or whatever, like so you could see what it was like to be intoxicated and stuff. And like most kids thought it was cool.
Goggles?
Right.
Yeah, it was like they were designed to like simulate what it's like to be like super drunk, and then have you like try to walk in a straight line and stuff. And everybody's like, "Oh, this is awesome" and stuff. And it was like
it became a competition.
Yeah, the complete opposite effect. Because those guys didn't grew up to go to parties and be like, "Yo, I can walk this straight line." It's like, oh no, man.
I remember they had a binder that had like all the different drugs in there. Obviously, it was and I'm like, well, I might have seen it before. whatever.
Happy Man
you
says
know?
Bear taught me about drugs that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
What's
like
acid?
passing out rulers that have like all the different slang terms for drugs. That was like so. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I never would have learned this.
They're like, this one causes hallucinations. This one, you're like, all right, this one I don't want to do. This one sounds pretty sick.
Yeah.
This is an upper and this is a downer.
This one's called angel dust, and this one's called nose candy.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah, don't do drugs.
Don't do
I don't do them. All right, longer final battle. Russell Mulcahy originally intended for the final battle with the Kurgan to go on longer than just the point where he is beheaded. His original vision was for an animated dragon to appear in the shape of the dragon helmet the Kurgan wore at the start of the film. This dragon was supposed to challenge MacLeod as an ultimate test that he was unprepared for, having battled opponents sword to sword for so many centuries. Only after defeating it would the final prize become his. Unfortunately, the $13 million budget left no room for such a climax.
It didn't do well in the box office either. Kind of underperformed. So,
what did it make?
According, I'll pull it up. It went under. It was under like by. Was it like 6 million? I think. So it had let's see, it had a budget of 19 million and it made 12 million in the box office.
That's really low. Wow.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's already, I mean, $13 million is obviously a lot of money, but it's really not when you think about a movie in 1986.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, like, the benefit with some of these movies that we know now, especially in the 80s, was like physical copies and the VHS sales and stuff. When those went live, sometimes those movies, would get really successful after that. But yeah, that's rough, man.
I mean, they still made some sequels after it, so
Yeah, they did.
Right.
Yeah.
Home video saved a lot of movies.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Austin Powers is the most famous one that I remember. Yes. That's awesome. Still frame right there.
Yep. Most fans believe that immortals gain their everlasting life upon pain of their first death, but the Dynamite comic series gives another explanation, which expands a key ingredient, the quickening itself. According to this explanation, immortals cease to age only after they have taken their first head and absorbed a quickening. A simple death and reanimation causes them to continue aging, which means immortals that go through life without a battle could theoretically grow old and die. Okay.
I mean, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
It doesn't line up for him. He didn't do that.
He didn't fight anybody for like ever.
Yeah.
Like he did never fought an immortal till I don't know who was the first one he killed. It was the first one we saw in the parking lot.
The first guy he killed though?
It wasn't. He didn't do it while Sean Connery was fighting him.
We never saw any old kills.
Yeah.
We don't really know exactly how he got, but yeah.
So he pretty much died when the Kurgan kind of killed him the first time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then he got up and he's walking around like, fine, yeah, I can go to school today.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think we know when he started to kill other immortals. I think he kind of just stayed out of it.
So maybe he accidentally killed an immortal and he didn't realize it.
There's definitely a problem with the lore because there's a lot of things that retcon each other and contradict each other throughout the show and the sequels and all that stuff too. Yeah.
We did get that amazing duel later on in the movie, which was absurd.
Yeah.
Where he just gets stabbed over and over again.
Dude, it was so funny. Yeah, him drunk. And then like nobody thinks anything of it. They just keep stabbing the guy. You're like, yo.
Right.
And then he's like apologizes and then leaves and the guy's just like, oh, okay, whatever, man. Like that was weird. You know, it's like, yeah, it was a little bit. I ran that guy through.
Why did he shoot his assistant? I never understood that part. He just takes
because he tried to he basically insulted his honor by saying shoot him while he's walking away. Like shooting a guy in the back is like it was like major dishonor. He's like, wow, the fact that you'd even suggest something like that to me is like.
But then he shoots that guy in the back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that guy, he shot that guy because he was a coward. And so, yeah. Because he basically said, do this cowardly thing. And he's like, no, I'll just shoot you because you just called me a coward. So, but it's still pretty wild. Yeah, the lore's all over the place. Which again, there is not a lot of rules set here. They tell you some things, but they're like, "Hey, no fighting on sacred or like holy ground." And you're like, "Okay," and he's like, "Yeah, it's just like common courtesy." They could have, they just don't. Like, but I'm like, who's enforcing? Nobody's enforcing these rules. Like at one point, it's just him and Kurgan. They could have fought right there in the church, and they just don't. Like, and it's actually Kurgan who's like, "Hey, man, we're on holy ground." So, like, I don't know. It's odd.
So this is what Sevi sent me. So it says that the French theatrical version of Highlander is mainly the same. It does add the World War II flashback, but it removes the interior shot of Detective Bledsoe in his car while on a stakeout. That the U.S. director's cut, the chants "kill the McLeod" are removed at the beginning of the film compared to the original U.S. release. They changed a lot of stuff. That's
Apparently, this version makes a little bit more sense. So...
In the uncut version, the Kurgan licks the priest's hand in the church.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. No wonder he apologized.
Yeah, he did.
Wait, so that was in the uncut version? Did I see? So, because that was in the one that I saw.
Yeah, me too.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it on Peacock.
Yep,
me too.
I watched it too.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it on Peacock too. All right, well let's knock out the super chats and we'll get right into our Criticless scores. I'm going to show all of y'all's as well because I see a lot of them. A lot of you guys watch this film to put a Criticless score up there with us. So I'm going to go through all of them as fast as maybe not as fast, but I'll try to get through as many as I can. So thank you guys for watching these movies with us. I freaking love it that you guys participate. I'm thinking we're just going to do dang, I'm about to die. I'm thinking we're about to do The Abyss next week. We'll just get it out of the way. I keep bringing it up. Maybe we'll just get it out of the way. I gave it an 80. Thought it was great. Most excellent 80s film. So I'm going to go through some of you guys. Cub Nut 3. Gave it a 76. Look at my man Tom. Said this is a masterpiece. Masterpiece, 100%. Steel Leg, my dude is in the chat. Gave it a 100%. My man Holy Fudge, 75. He says some really old Scottish dude that cannot die kill each other. Plus 5 points for Miss Candy. My man Alex.
Oh, Miss Candy on her hair, man. Her hair was insane.
Alex gave it a 76. Starring old James Bond and the guard from Shawshank Redemption. The voice of Mr. Krabs. You guys are hilarious.
Dude, these are so
Arambe,
good.
rest in peace, gave it a 100. Blaine gave it an 80. We'll go over his in a minute. I don't know how to say your name.
Legion Dell.
Legion Dell.
There you go. Gave it a 90. Epic Mike. We'll get to his. Let's see. Jaja Binks gave it an 84. I don't know why he put the high ground, but there it is. As soon as we sat down, one guy do like 20 consecutive bat flicks. Misa know this guy was gonna be a banger. Horn Boy gave it a 50. Good soundtrack, bad acting. Clancy Brown, Lone Bright Spot, forgettable. Samwise Ganji gave it a 71. Clancy Brown and Sean Connery steal the show. Christopher Lambert is also there.
Agreed.
We got an 89 from
Fergusonian.
Oh, Fergusonian. There we go. Let's be honest. Any movie that contains both Sean Connery and Queen music is automatically one of the best films of all time.
Hold on real quick, too. Like, I got a bone to pick with Fergusonian. He's the one person, he goes through and dislikes all of my reviews. Every single one of them. And then he will yell at me when I review a movie he likes. He goes, "Why are you making me dislike this film?" I'm like, I didn't make you do any of this. You chose this path.
Wait, so
Shout out
it actually
Nick
does
Cage.
display who dislikes stuff on Criticless?
No, he tells me. He even leaves in the comments. He goes, "Hey, I dislike this review."
Here, I was thinking you were reviewing him. And he's
No,
just
he
going
just
out of his way.
He'll message me and be like, "Hey, I disliked your review. I just want you to know." And he's just like, "It's just on principle at this point. I just have to." Yeah.
I made good
That's
movies
awesome.
with a 92. This is one of the most 80s films from the 80s. Yeah. There's Lily. She will be back. I promise you. That's why she's
There she is.
we refuse to take her off the thumbnail.
Yeah.
She gave it an 88. We got an 85. I can't pronounce these names. I'm sorry.
Scavola?
1975. There can only be one. I love this film, but it does have issues. 85 is good. The Big Albowski, 90. For starters, what a banger of a soundtrack. Geek Truth 64 was in the chat, 64%. I was gifted a Highlander Steelbook a few months back and finally got around watching this movie for the first time. So this is my new review. There's Jonas, gave it a low 70. Wow.
What?
L. Anderson for 85.
Crazy.
Rebel Headspace, 78. One of the greatest opening credits in film history. Yeah, I know. I knew like once I saw the opening credits, it was going to be crazy.
Here we are.
Life of Marshmallows, 87. This was my first viewing of Highlander, and I enjoyed it, even without the nostalgia factor. There you go. There's Sevi, gave it a 90. Look at her. Maybe I should do these after we do ours, now that I think about it. Anyway, Master P gave it a 100.
Wow.
Firmshire, is that how you do it?
Frimshire.
Watching this brought me back to my childhood. 87. My Dixie gave it a 95. Got me. Night Stealer gave it a 75 or 78. Excuse me. Look at all you guys, man.
That's a good name, by the way.
90% from Warbrear. Nick gave it an 84. And Retro 85 gave it an 85. Bimbo Dickin gave it a 100. I'm assuming the 6 days is still in our wheelhouse. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was when
Banjo
we first announced
Sandwich
it.
81. Look at all that. All right. MCU Campia fan who's in the chat gave it an 85. I skipped this one, but Rival Valkyrie. Did I say that? Rhea Valkyrie gave it a 95. War Machine gave it a 100. Lady Raquel, who's in the chat too, gave it a 90.
Nice.
87. So that's pretty good. All right, now we're going back. All right. I try to get as many people that watch this show with us in there. So Highlander overall, 80. The most excellent, 85. My rating was an 80. All right, who'd like to go first?
I'll go first. Oh, wait, Sevi's gonna go first. Awesome.
There we go.
Yep. I watched this movie twice. So my rating changed after I watched it twice. When I first watched it, I thought I was gonna give it an 80 because I was really frustrated by the music transitions. You know, they were too loud. They didn't seem seamless into those transitions. And I thought that some of the things were just a little bit too weird, like the water exploding, it came out of nowhere. And then, you know, they were fighting underwater, and I wasn't feeling it. But then later on, I was like, you know what? I think I missed a couple of things because I don't think I was paying that much attention because I was talking to the people in voice chat. So I watched it again. And after I watched it the second time, then I actually kind of started to like it more, and I started to get into it more. So I've never seen it before. This was my first time watching Highlander, the movie. And I started to really actually then think more about what the lore was and what they were thinking. And I started to look up more reasons to kind of understand more what was going on. So I ended up getting more into it. So that's why I gave it a 90. Initially, I was going to give it an 80.
Nice.
Man.
Jonas, you're next.
Oh, yeah.
I see the first people that highlight it. Then we'll do Mo, then Blaine. There you go.
Yep.
78. Boo this man.
This is 2 points below you. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it's a different color. You're in the purple. I'm not.
I don't
Jay
see
doesn't like
color.
the different colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read the first sentence of my review. Highlander starts, as all movies should, with a Sean Connery monologue, an epic overture from Freddie Mercury, and a professional wrestling match that smash cuts to armies battling in the Highlands of Scotland. Then a surprise katana fight in a parking garage is even more epic than it sounds. All of this before the 10-minute mark. This movie is insane on so many levels. It is something that it's the kind of weirdness and maniacal nature that you might expect from like an Indian film, like a Bollywood film where they're just throwing everything at the screen. If it had been made in the 1980s by well, sounds like a Scottish guy with the name Mulcahy or whatever. Good movie. I'm probably, if I wasn't on this stream and we didn't say we're all going to watch it again, I probably wouldn't watch it again. I get the idea. I'm kind of interested in the sequels. For nostalgia, I might go check out a couple of episodes of the series, but I'm fine with this how it is. It gets a big upgrade once Sean Connery shows up because, as I said in my review, I'm convinced that he could order food at Burger King and it would make an engaging movie. Like Connery in almost anything is just great. That that way that he just talks and it just sounds delicious. So, anyways, good film. Probably wouldn't watch it again unless someone wanted me to watch it with them. Good job having an opinion, Jonas.
Wow, we just lost 100 viewers. Thank you.
Everybody
all right, Mo, you're up.
All right. So I gave this an 86.
Chill.
I loved this movie. Yeah, I forgot about the intro where he talks and he's like, it's so good, and it goes into the Queen music.
This guy. sorry, Mo. That was just.
He's like,
Oh,
just
no,
get
you're
rid
good.
of him.
Jonas
agree.
never gets he's so professional. No one ever wants to kick him, and now everyone's like, "Boo this man!" Boo.
If I bump it up 2 points, no one's complaining. That's all I'm going to say.
Sorry, Mo. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay, so I said it's been a while since I've seen this movie, and let me say it just gets better as time goes by, which is true. A lot of the nuances and more mature themes. I watched this in high school and probably younger than that when I probably shouldn't have, but I always loved it because of Queen music is just amazing, but the action was great. The exposition was great. I loved Clancy Brown. That was the first thing I ever saw him in, and I was just like, it was amazing. And like the camera techniques were just awesome. The way they tell the story, the way that they didn't try to clean up New York, it was just nasty New York, was great. Because when they would cut back to Scotland, the Green Hills, it was such a jarring transition. It was amazing. And it's just, but there's so much heart. There's sad scenes. Like you really feel like you were going on this journey with this immortal person. Like you actually understand through the way that they do the flashbacks, which are properly seated. They're not overdone. They're not ham-handed. I think it deserves an 86. There's a few things like Mike said earlier, you can go underwater, and then it's, just because you're immortal means you're like you turned into a submarine. Okay, it's just like but all that regardless, it's such a good movie. The music is great by both Kamen and Queen. It's so good. 86%. I just love it, and I would watch it again. I'll watch it again tomorrow.
Somebody called Mo Slow Zamboni.
I guess.
Oh no! Oh no!
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. Hey. I'm a modern man.
Oh no!
It's really good.
Oh man,
So
I'm dying.
I was smarter than Jonas and saved myself by not going 2 points lower. I'm honestly not super far off from where Jonas is with this, where my biggest beef is honestly just, which clearly incited some of you with me talking crap about Lambeer. You guys definitely did not like me saying that he's a trash actor. But yeah, he hurt the movie for me. That's where most of my points went, actually. But I think the other thing is, for me, one of the things that I mentioned in here is Big Trouble in Little China, which is like one of my all-time favorite cheesy 80s movies, which I am still pushing for us to review on the show. It's amazing if you've never seen it. Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
got
yeah.
it.
We'll
I got it
definitely,
right
we
here,
definitely
yeah.
need to do that one.
Dude, it's
So
so good. Oh my gosh.
We should do that instead of The Abyss.
I agree
Probably.
personally, but but
Have you seen that, Sevi? Have you seen Big Trouble in Little China?
Oh my god, yes. It's so
Okay.
good. I loved it.
Have you seen
It
The
is.
Abyss?
No, I've not.
Okay. So, but yeah, the big thing with me in that movie versus this one is like Big Trouble is super self-aware. This movie takes itself a lot more seriously and kind of wears its cheese on its sleeve, like it knows that it's there. This movie does not, and so that's kind of what hurts some of it for me a little bit. But most of it is honestly just Lambeer's acting. But it does. I also did anger a few people by talking about the fact that I do think that the potential Cavill sequel that we have coming with Chad Stahelski, who did John Wick. The two of them are who's going to be doing the new movie, and I think that it could, if they lean more into the seriousness of what this movie thought it was, it could actually be really cool. But I know how remakes go, and so
I'll also add that if you have Henry Cavill doing a Scottish accent, I know a lot of female viewers who will all of a sudden be Highlander fans.
Yeah, real quick. And it reminded me of the show, which I am now blanking on, where he calls this lady Sassenach.
Outlander.
But Outlander. Yeah, I was seeing the parallels with Outlander and this.
Y'all are
But
crazy.
yeah. So, anyways, I gave it 80%. It's a solid movie, but I think it does pay from the nostalgia.
Mike, you're the last one, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, man. Oh man.
I
So
gotta
I'm-
keep you from stop laughing. At
Oh, dude,
poor
I'm
Mo.
sorry. I'm trying not to. Yeah, I gave this movie 85. I misspelled the in one of my right there. I can see it. I really enjoyed this movie, but it is absolutely an 80s, okay, light on plot, heavy on vibes, and heavy on like aura. That is what it's about. It is very much style over substance for the most part. Not to say that there isn't some moments of substance in this movie. There are. I think the love story is it has a moving moment. It's kind of touching at times, like his past love and the implication of being an immortal and watching the woman that you love grow old and die, and how much he still like cares about her and stuff. Like that's kind of beautiful, but also like then you have moments where like the tower's falling down and Sean Connery's like, "Get out of here," and the woman's like, "Ah." And then like rocks fall, or like how many times his new love interest screams at the top of her lung, like while this giant sign is falling down around her, and she doesn't like die or get hurt. For like, the thing is, this movie is a very mixed bag for me, but the things that I love about it, I think are so entertaining and so fun. Like Clancy Brown just nails it. He's having a blast. He does not care the premise, any of that. He's just going, I'm the bad guy, and that's what I'm going to do here. Yeah, I do agree that Christopher Lambert is not great, but it kind of works for me because of how weird this movie is. And the Queen soundtrack is what sells it. That opening gets me so pumped every time. Princes of the Universe is like one of Queen's best songs. Like that line, I am immortal, I have inside me blood of kings. I'm like, bro, come on now. But I gave it an 85. Part of me, if I was being really critical, would give it a much lower score. But when I just watched it and said, I'm going to shut off my brain and just have fun with it, I had a great time. And if I can get through the Fast and Furious movies and have a good time, I can have a good time with this.